Features of a Christ-centered response to COVID. Something fundamental has shifted in the last few weeks in our experience of the COVID pandemic here in South Africa. Not too long ago, we used to know the numbers of people who were sick and dying. But now we know the names of loved ones who are sick, fighting for their lives, and some tragically succumbing to the disease. And for us as believers, it begs the question, what are the features of a Christ-centered response to the second wave of this pandemic? How do we navigate the strange time that we're in? I want to propose that Romans 12 verse 12 contains some biblical wisdom to answer that question. Paul has spent 11 chapters of Romans laying out the glories of the gospel. He's laid out how God is both just and merciful, how he is good and loving. And then he gets to chapter 12 and he sets about telling God's people how to live in the light of this glorious gospel that we have. And in 12 verse 12 he says, rejoice in hope, be patient in tribulation, be constant in prayer. 3 commands: rejoice in hope, be patient in tribulation, be constant in prayer. I think we have in this simple verse 3 features of a Christ-centered response to the current situation. Firstly, we should be joyful in hope. We should be joyful in hope. Rejoice in hope, says Paul. Now, there are 3 kinds of hope that I can find in the scriptures. The first is what we could call misplaced hope or vain hopes. This is when we place our hopes in things we shouldn't, such as in political leaders or false prophecies, according to Jeremiah. We place our hope in silver and gold. These are vain hopes. Then there are uncertain hopes. There are things that we hope will happen, but we have no promise from God to say that they will happen. Paul often talks about his travel and ministry plans in this way. He'll say, I'm hoping to send Timothy to you, and I hope to come to you after I've gone to visit some other church. He doesn't know if he's going to be able to deliver on these hopes, but he hopes that they will come to pass. Friends, I think this category includes 2 things that we should be wary of as we navigate COVID. We should be wary of prophecies about peace and safety, and we should be wary of promises of healing. God often heals, but he often doesn't heal. And I don't think that healing is a promised certainty in this life. In fact, I'm convinced that the scriptures do not promise us healing in this life. They talk about a God we can beseech to heal, but they don't give us a guarantee. So they're in this category of uncertain hopes, things we would like to see happen, but we don't have an assurance that they will. And then there's a third category of hopes. And these are certain hopes. In other words, they are things that God has promised and are guaranteed to us as his people. And they are always future hopes relating to that which is promised after this life. So the hope laid up for us in heaven, says Colossians 1. And in Colossians 1 verse 27, Paul talks about Christ in you, the hope of glory. Referring to the fact that this is not this uncertain hope. Our hope maybe I'll spend a glorious eternity with Christ. Rather, it is the guarantee that if Christ is in us, we are assured of eternal glory, and that we do not grieve as those who have no hope, says Thessalonians. So we have these assurances of eternal hope, and one of the things that we need to do as we navigate the uncertainties of COVID-19 is to refocus our gaze on the eternal promises of God and the hope laid up for us in heaven. Not so much on the here and now. Secondly, he tells us to be patient in tribulation. Be patient in tribulation. The assumption here is that as believers, we don't go around the storms of life. We are called to pass through the storms of life. We don't have a special track that avoids the suffering that befalls the world. What we have is a call from God to persevere. The word translated be patient has this notion of persevering. It means to bear up under difficult circumstances, not with a passive resignation, but with a hopeful fortitude that resists weariness and defeat. The kind of hopeful fortitude that gives us the strength to persevere through the trial, through the tribulation. And the scriptures make some fascinating promises about persevering through these trials, talking about the fact that we are blessed not if we avoid trouble and tribulation, but we are blessed if we endure steadfastly through troubles and tribulations. You can look at James 1 verse 12 and 5 verse 11 for that idea. None of us is enjoying things like wearing masks, enduring social distancing, lockdown, isolation from friends, inability to gather with our church families. These are tribulations to us as God's people. But friends, we need to persevere through them. We need to be patient in this tribulation. There will be light at the end of the tunnel, but we need to be faithful and diligent and steadfast as we go through it. COVID is not a conspiracy. It's a deadly virus, and we need to be diligent in taking the precautions that will protect not only our lives, but the lives of others around us. So we need to be patient in tribulation. And lastly, we need to be constant in prayer. The word translated constant was sometimes used in Greek, non-biblical Greek texts, of the determination with which an army would besiege a town or a city. This dogged determination that's similar to Jacob when he wrestled with the angel and said, "I will not let you go unless you bless me." That kind of dogged, persevering determination should characterize our prayers. This word is used 4 times in the New Testament to refer to prayer. In Acts 1 verse 14, 2:42, 6 verse 4, and Colossians 4 verse 2. We need to be constant, dedicated in our prayers as we press into God with determination. It's not that He is unwilling to answer. It's that He is a rewarder of those who diligently seek Him. So friends, we're navigating most unusual circumstances. None of us have been here before, and hopefully we won't have to pass this way again. But while we're here, we need to embrace 3 features of a Christ-centered response to our current reality. First, we need to rejoice in hope. Not the hopes of the here and now, but hopes that are anchored in the eternal promises of God. Second, we need to be patient in tribulation. We don't like the things we're experiencing, but blessed are those who endure steadfastly, says James. And lastly, we need to be constant, doggedly determined in our prayers as we press into God and cry out for His intervention, not because He is unwilling, but because He is a rewarder of those who diligently seek Him. So 3 features of a Christ-centered response. I hope they're helpful. Maybe tell me in the comments what are some of the things that you find helpful and damaging as we navigate these times as Christians. If you haven't already done so, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. See you next time.